Hi, everybody. I'm Heather.
I'm Bryn.
And I'm Michael Jackson with the Florida Pharmacy Association. Hi.
We are so excited today. This is going to be such an awesome episode. We were able to wrangle this amazing gentleman. He is the Executive Vice President and the CEO of the Florida Pharmacy Association. For those of you students out there, what that means is he really is there helping the Florida Pharmacy Association advocate in Tallahassee for all these wonderful pharmacy things that are going on, legislation that's trying to get passed, and he'll tell more of that. But we're really blessed to have him today.
Yes, thank you so much for being with us.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. I appreciate that. Thank you.
We were just interested how you kind of went on this road. How did you find yourself in Tallahassee? How did you decide this is where you needed to be?
Oh, my goodness. When you're practicing pharmacy, as I did in Northwest Florida, you're doing what you can to help the patients in your community. Mm-hmm. But at some point in time, you think, there are much bigger fish to fry. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of other things that need changing. There's a lot of things that pharmacy needs to be involved with. So how can I do that from my small universe in my little pharmacy on Racetrack Road in Fort Walton Beach? Mm. Well, one way of doing that is consider expanding beyond that. And so I took on a role as a regional supervisor for a number of pharmacies. I had 58 pharmacies in 3 different states that I supervised, but it wasn't enough.
Okay.
To me, I was able to change that little section of the state of Alabama where I was working. And I said, well, I need to get further than that. And then that's when the association gave me a call. Mm. And said, we're interested in someone to kind of help guide the Florida Pharmacy Association. And I said, okay, wow, it sounds interesting. I wasn't trained for that, but I was trained to work with a lot of folks, a lot of people, and work on a lot of issues.
So were you working, when they called you, were you working in the local pharmacy association at the time, or how did they find you? Yeah.
Well, it's interesting how I got discovered. I've always been an active member of the Florida Pharmacy Association because it was ingrained to me to give back to the profession that gives to you, to be a part of the solution and not necessarily part of the problem. So it just second nature to engage with the Florida Pharmacy Association, to really get involved in committees and councils, to get into leadership. I had the honor of serving as Speaker of the House of Delegates at the FPA at one time, and just really enjoyed the camaraderie. And I've learned to meet a lot of folks. So particularly with the students, the networking within the Florida Pharmacy Association is just awesome.
Yeah.
And it was the connections that I had that eventually got me in the role with the company I was working with, which got me promoted from a from a pharmacist in the store to a regional manager of 58 pharmacies in 3 states.
Wow.
And it was because of that connection with the FPA and the FPA leadership and senior leadership of the company I was working for that I got moved into that role.
So networking sounds like it's definitely key.
Networking, definitely for someone, especially a new graduate that's coming out that wants to kind of grow their career and maybe grow it quickly. You got to get to know people.
Yeah, absolutely. So it sounds like you were really driven by creating change in a bigger way than what you could just impact.
Change is important in this profession. Let's think about this for a while. Let's think about the traditional role of pharmacist, where you're providing prescription medications to patients. That is a process that can be highly automated, and they can build machines and equipment that can do that. And so we have to find a way to transition the pharmacist skill level and experience, the things that they're learning in today's modern pharmacy schools, into a practice environment that recognizes their skill sets. And so to do that, we've got to make some changes in public policy that would help facilitate that, to take the pharmacy out of the traditional role of what pharmacists do and more on advanced patient care. And this is what professional associations do.
Mm-hmm.
How do you find the heartbeat, or how do you find what that next change is going to be? Are you looking at other states? Are you going to conferences? Where do you pull your
staying at the forefront, like the frontier?
Oh, the frontier is always moving, and you always got to chase it down.
You're just putting on your running shoes.
And just about the time you catch up with the frontier, somebody moved the cheese and put it somewhere else, and so you got to go find it. So the key here is that the national associations and the state associations, they are holding on to a pulse of what's happening to the profession.
Okay.
And you gotta be able to adjust and change to the things that are going on in this profession. And sometimes change is painful. Sometimes when you have pharmacy and pharmacists that are doing things that are in their comfort area, and they have to move out of that comfort area, it's difficult for them. It's extremely difficult, particularly for pharmacists that have been used to traditional things of doing. So that's where we come in as an association, is we try to help guide through all this disruption that's going on within our profession.
Well, and we have very good ideas, and that's probably pretty easy, right? To go to Tallahassee and make these big changes for us in pharmacy.
Real easy.
Oh, that's an interesting statement. Trying to convince policymakers in Tallahassee that these ideas are good ideas, and we're having to compete with other entities and other groups and other organizations who may not necessarily want the profession of pharmacy to advance in the healthcare space like we're capable of doing. I find it's remarkable that in pharmacy we have the skill sets in drug therapy management and prescription drugs that, to me, are far beyond any other health profession.
We're the drug experts.
We're the experts in the training that they get in all our state schools. We have the best schools in the country right here in Florida. And the training that these kids are getting now, they can do things that are just amazing. But it's just remarkable that before a pharmacist can do anything, we have to have a healthcare profession with less training than we have to write an order.
Thank you. Sorry for a little interruption, guys.
What does so it sounds like you are talking to a lot of different legislatures, so like your speaking is really important, your education component. Are you creating like a daily routine, like I read this amount or I talk to so-and-so? I mean, there's got to be so many different things you're trying to fit into a day.
Oh my goodness, the day starts at 6 a.m.
Okay.
And sometimes the day doesn't start till 6 a.m. the next day. So, but the days are long, but the labor is a labor of love. It is everything we do within the Florida Pharmacy Association, working with our leadership, working with our volunteers. It's about facilitating change and helping our members be better pharmacists to care for their patients. What we do, we think, has improved the quality of health in this state. Take, for example, pharmacists now being able to provide immunization services. We've got patients now who are getting immunized. They never would have gotten immunized before had we not made that change.
Right. And I'm for one, I'm just thankful that you guys are there, because I think there's a lot of us that see the changes that could be made, or things that could be better, or ways that we could be helping patients that we're not able to do at this time. And I think, like you had this fire in your belly to like wanting to be an impactful person and make that change. And I think there's many of us, perhaps, I know there's a lot of people with really great ideas, but for some reason as pharmacists, we sometimes can sit back and say, oh, somebody will handle that, or somebody will, I'm sure they don't need me to do that. So what would you say to those pharmacists what would you say to pharmacists in general, what we all need to maybe do our part?
The first thing I would say, if they're dependent on somebody else to take care of things for you, somebody has moved to Detroit, Michigan. They don't live in Florida anymore. And so
Right.
the somebody has got to be us. We can't wait on somebody to come and take care of things for us. We've got to do this, and we can't be satisfied with just status quo.
Right.
Because if you're not moving forward, you are falling backwards.
Yes.
And backwards is not an option, especially in today's healthcare marketplace.
No.
We have to be ahead of the curve. We have to be outside and beyond. We have to be out of the box. I'm 200 pounds. I don't fit in the box anymore.
Right. And I think to what you said and what you talked about with the whole group earlier, I think there are a lot of people out there that maybe don't have the same agendas that pharmacists do. And so it's really important, I think, for what you guys do to kind of be the voice of us there. And I think another thing that you shared that was really interesting to me is, a lot of the legislatures are voting on things that pertain to pharmacy, and they aren't a pharmacy expert. Like, they're relying on lots of different people to kind of educate them so that they can make a vote on that.
Oh, please tell me about it. How many times have I sat in a committee hearing and I've looked at legislators who are making healthcare decisions, and I don't see a healthcare provider who is who has a pharmacy background or has a connection to pharmacy. And they're making decisions that affect what I do with my patients and whether or not what I do with my patient will matter to that patient. Yet they will decide things based upon what someone told them who their interest is not aligned with ours. And so we have got to change that mindset. We have to there are 33,000 Florida licensed pharmacists out there. 33,000. There's over 40,000 Florida registered technicians out there. And everything that they are doing now are impacted by the decisions that are being made by people in Tallahassee who have no idea what this profession is all about.
Right, and that's scary. That should make us all kind of step backwards, I think. But how can we make a difference?
We can make a difference by reaching out to our colleagues and talking to pharmacists. And if we discover something that occurred, that a policy change that is interesting, if we attend a conference and we learn something, let's share it.
Yes.
Let's share our expertise, and let's not be shy about helping our colleagues, because they say that rising tides lift all boats, and this is all part of that too.
Well, I just want to see your vision. So what is your vision? Because you know how pharmacy's changing. You kind of see the legislature and where things are kind of seeming to move as a whole. What are these pharmacy students going to do in the future? Like, what is your vision of how things are going to shift in a major way?
They're going to see a profession that's different from the profession we see it today. And one thing I know about pharmacy students and recent pharmacy graduates, they are a firebrand of change. And just imagine about the disruption that's happening out there. Just think about the music industry, how that got disrupted. You at once upon a time you used to go to a store and purchase records or CDs or tapes and things like that. And the industry decided, we think that you should be listening to music differently now. And the same thing should be about pharmacy too. We think that the role of the pharmacist should be different now. A pharmacist should be on the front line and making decisions about drug therapy because they're the expert when it comes to prescription drug therapy. And so how do we go about doing that? And my role as the executive director of the Florida Pharmacy Association, I can't make that change alone. We have senior leadership of the association that does that. And I follow what they put in place in terms of a mission statement, an action plan, a strategic plan. So we try to adhere closely to those principles. And guess what? It is you, the pharmacist out there, that determine what it is that we do. And you have to be part of the association network, whether it be the Florida Pharmacy Association or any other organization. Just join. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem.
Right. That's a good point. Right. And can it start with students? I mean, how would you suggest a student become involved?
Oh, the students are probably the energy behind what we do within our profession, within our organizations. Students can facilitate more change than anyone else.
Wow.
And I've seen that happen within the FPA. When we were fighting for pharmacists to be able to immunize patients, we struggled with that. Years and years of advocacy effort before the House and the Senate, fighting against groups that did not think that pharmacists are qualified to do that. We worked with students who came up with ideas and concepts on how to advocate for this. We got them energized. We got them excited. They came to Tallahassee.
They went to Tallahassee.
Yeah, they did.
We even had students that testified in committee, and it was amazing to see some of the committee members sitting there. I think it was in the Senate committee at one time, that was listening to a passionate testimony by a student about what pharmacists should be doing, and a committee thanked them and said, "You have a career in politics."
And so they can join the Florida Pharmacy Association.
Oh, yeah. We have a student membership plan. So if you're a P1 student, you join the Florida Pharmacy Association. Get this, the fee is going to be fairly expensive for pharmacy students. It's $20 for 4 years of membership.
Oh my goodness.
goodness.
What a deal.
Yes.
So, and then once the membership expires, not the membership expires, but once students graduate from pharmacy school, then they have an opportunity to convert their student membership into what we call a recent graduate membership category. So instead of paying the regular rate that I pay, so I'm a member of the association, I pay dues, and my dues are $195. The recent graduate for the first year that will cover from when they graduate, I think in April, May, or June. They only pay $97.50, or half of what a regular member would pay. And if they if they transition their membership from the student membership category to recent graduate before June 30th, which is coming up, they will have 18 months of membership, not just 12. So their membership will go from June
Gotcha, to
of
the
this
end.
year through the end of next year, but they have to do it before the end of June 30th.
That's a nice deal. Sweet deal.
Yes, awesome.
We try to make it easy because we understand when you graduate, you got
Other
student
things,
loans
yeah.
and all kind of things going on.
Yeah. But even pharmacists, I think that's not a very high price to
No.
be involved or to be able, I think, I'm a member of FPA. It's just a great way to kind of get your publications. If you're just not in the Tallahassee realm, or you want to kind of be in, what is the cutting edge? What is going on? It's just a great organization, I think, to kind of keep you as a lay person down here, to understand what's going on in Tallahassee.
Yeah, for me personally, my membership in the Florida Pharmacy Association when I was working in a pharmacy was very beneficial because the association was always very good at pushing out information on issues that are occurring within the state. And I get them, by messaging, by mail, and by email, and I knew stuff. I knew more things that was going on in my community than my other pharmacist colleagues who were working for my competitor. And it wasn't until the leadership of the company I was working for visited my pharmacy, and I was getting phone calls from pharmacists in the area that heard about something that changed, and they were calling me.
Nice.
At the same time, the vice president of the company I was working for was in my pharmacy, and he was looking at me and he says, "How do you know all this stuff?" I said, "Well, I'm a member of the Florida Pharmacy Association, and I just know this because it's common knowledge to members, but it's not common knowledge to pharmacists who are not members." And so that's why I think they took an interest in me and asked me to consider a promotion.
Yeah, no. And so do you have an MBA? Just curious.
No.
For somebody who wants to maybe follow your path of like executive leadership and.
Well, definitely advanced education and training would be very important and essential, particularly in today's marketplace. Students need to, really think about doing that residency program or that master's program to prepare themselves for the type of career that's ahead of them. I don't have that, so I'm disadvantaged when it comes to the credential needed. But what I do have that I carry with me wherever I go is experience.
Oh, absolutely.
A lot of
That's a
it.
big card. You pull that big card out.
What kind of, because there's just, we could spend another
Yeah.
20 minutes talking about what he does. It's incredible. But what kind of self-care do you implement into your life?
Well, my life is the profession. I give it 100%. That's why I'm here. And I wake up in the middle of the night sometimes. I says, there's an article in my head. I want to get it out. And so I'll sit down at my computer terminal 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and I craft that article and I get it published and get it in the journal. And I want to write something that would be interesting for our readers of our journal. And sometimes our articles are not as interesting as others because the inspiration is not there because I'm distracted by doing other things. But then sometimes the inspiration hits me. It says I need to tell a life story about this issue, something that can relate to our members. And every now and then I put one out there that does that.
So it sounds to me like you almost don't work. Like it seems to me like you're blessed with a job that you enjoy. Like it's not work to you. That's your.
I've been with the association for 22 years, and I have not worked in 22 years because I just love what it is I do. I love working with the leaders of the association because they're visionaries, they're passionate, they have the same fire that I have, some even more than what I have, and they're wanting to see change. I think the frustrating part is they have the fire, they have the drive, they have the desire to see the profession move forward. It's a little frustrating when I can go into a community and visit a pharmacy, and 9 times out of 10, the pharmacist that I visit is not a member of anything, and it's really depressing when I see that. But it's also an opportunity to kind of share with that pharmacist. You may not be aware, but this is happening, this is happening, this is happening, and can give you more information about it, and they become interested. What's really surprising to me is many pharmacists, when you ask them who represents you, they say the board of pharmacy represents them, or they may say the entity that they work for represents their interests. and they may to some extent, but not the Board of Pharmacy. The Board of Pharmacy represents the consumers and protect consumers against what we do as pharmacists.
Right.
Okay. It's a really
Well,
good
thank you.
shot.
Thank you so much for your time. I know you've got to head back to Tallahassee, so we really appreciate it. Is there any final words you'd like to share with our audience? We have a pharmacist, we have students. Any final words?
Well, I want to thank the two of you for your hard work in doing this. I mean, this is an interesting project, and
It's a passion of love. It's a work
Yes.
of love and passion. Yep.
yeah, Hollywood needs to see this. This is really amazing here what you guys are doing. I'm
With
just-
a famous name like yours. I
Oh,
know.
no.
We're
We gotta
going
get a name
way
right.
up high.
We love our pharmacists out of the box. We think that's pretty hip and cool. But yes, thank you for that. No, thank you very much, and thank you for your time.
Fantastic.
So we will put his information, or the Florida Pharmacy Association,
Everybody
in
join.
the notes. Yes, please. And get in touch with what's going on and find out who's representing you and be involved, become involved.
Yes.
So thank you.
Thank
I'm
you.
Heather.
Bye-bye.
I'm Bryn.
Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson. Pharmacist out of the box. See you next time, everybody.
Bye.